Welcome to Dr. ETV. Espen here. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Dr. Noah St. John, who's known as the father of affirmations and the mental health coach to the stars. This is going to be a really exciting interview. I've been following Dr. Noah for a while now, and specifically on socials, he's dropping these absolute golden nuggets over and over again as to how to achieve the things that we're hoping to achieve. Noah has spent a lot of years now working with different Hollywood celebrities, from 7 to 8 figure CEOs, professional athletes, top executives, elite entrepreneurs. And he's famous for making his coaching clients, and this is exciting, we might be able to have this conversation as well, make more money in 12 weeks than they did in the previous 12 months. Noah's mission is to raise humanity's consciousness one question at a time. Dr. Noah, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's been great to be here. Thank you.
Oh, it's so cool, man. And thank you for joining us all the way from Ohio. I know we've got a bit of a time difference, but we're really excited to go through some good stuff. I want to start right off the cuff, if I can. You've got a book out, and I'm really excited to have a quick question about this book. In essence, it's called The Seven-Figure Expert in Business. Can you just tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to write this book about seven-figure business experts?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, the book is called The Seven-Figure Expert, and the subtitle is Your Ultimate Guide to a Life of More Impact, Influence, and Financial Freedom. And isn't that what we all want, right? We all want more impact, we want more influence, and of course, we want that financial freedom. So that's what the book is about. And really, as to why I created this book, this is what I've been teaching my clients for over 25 years now. I started in 1997 in a 300 square foot basement apartment with $800 in a book on HTML. And since those very humble beginnings, we've helped our coaching clients add over $3 billion collectively. That means we've helped people, coaches, consultants, course creators, authors, speakers, chiropractors, health professionals, network marketers, wealth managers, just people in dozens of industries to add multiple 6 and 7 and yes, even 8 figures while all working less. And that's one of the things that I'm really known for. And that's one of the things that makes this teaching and my coaching different is there's a lot of people out there, that are teaching the hustle and grind, right? The hustle bros. And they're out there saying, hey, you got to be working 14, 16, 18 hours a day. And if you're not working on Christmas Eve, then you're a loser. And I'm like, are you nuts? I mean, what kind of a life is that? That to me is insane. And frankly, what that really means is you don't have the right systems in place. In other words, if you're working all those hours, that means you don't have systems. And if you don't have systems, that means you're forced to work all those hours just to try to, keep up or catch up. And so the point is of the book and really my coaching, whether it's one-on-one coaching or group coaching, the whole point is to install these systems that work hard so you don't have to.
Oh, makes sense. And I get that vibe from your Instagram as well, specifically with the laying out a problem here. Here's a problem that successful entrepreneurs or up-and-coming entrepreneurs face, and here are the top 3 ways as to how you can fix it. So I think it's really, really awesome to be able to have that conversation. Can you tell us a little bit about when you're working with your clients? Maybe you want to talk about some of the clients that you've worked with, or at least perhaps some of the core issues that people face mentally in their lives, and also, of course, how this affects their business, their growth, and their development.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is really what I've written these 24 books on that you see behind me. These are my books that I've written over the last 25 years. And these are some of the books I've helped my clients publish. So I also help people write their own books and get them published as well. And we do also have a book done for you service and a funnel done for you service. So we really do it all. But basically, one of the big things that I help people with for, over the last 25 years is this concept of what I call taking out your head trash. And, you could really say that I've written all these books pretty much on this one topic, which is how to take out your head trash. And so, the way that I teach it and have been teaching it for many years is that your head trash is really the voice in your head that says, I can't do it because. Now, so for everyone listening to this program, here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to get a very clear picture. And by the way, this is exactly what I do with my coaching clients, whether one-on-one or group coaching. I mean, this is one of the things that we do right off the bat to start with. I want you to get a very clear picture of what it is that you want to accomplish over the next 12 months. All right. So let's say, I'll give you an example. People say to me, well, Noah, I want to make more money. And I say, okay, here's $5. Go away. No, that's not good enough, right? You got to be a lot clearer than that, right? You got to be much, much, much clearer, and you got to have more clarity than I want more money. What does that mean? To one person, that means, I want to add $10,000 a month. To another, they might say, well, no, I want to add $100,000 a month, and whatever. So it's got to be very specific to you. And by the way, this isn't just about money. This is about your whole life, right? So not just thinking, oh, I want to make X amount of money, but saying, you know what, I want to have more time to spend with my family, or I want to be able to go on more vacations. I want to take more time off. I want to, be in better shape, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. So get a very clear picture of those things that you want, right, to accomplish, achieve, and experience over the next 12 months. But see, here's the thing that happens. Now, everybody talks about setting goals, right? We've heard this a million times. Oh, set your goals, set your goals. We've heard this a million times. But see, here's what they don't tell you. And this is one of the things that makes my coaching different. And one of the reasons we've helped people make so much money and get their lives back is because now I want you to think about all the reasons that you're telling yourself you can't do that thing that you just said you want. All right. So let's again take the example. I want to add an extra $10,000 a month to my business, but I can't do it because ... Right. So what comes after the word because in your mind? So for everybody listening to this program, I want you to really think about it and be honest with yourself. Be really, really honest and say, oh, gosh, no, I'd really like to do that, but I don't think I can do it because, and then, you have the excuse. Well, I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I can't afford it. My spouse won't let me do it. I've got kids. I'm too busy, whatever, all the excuses that we have. Right. And so let me give you an example of how this works. I'll give you a real life example. So I was talking to one of my coaching clients. His name's Charles. And I said, Charles, and this is a question I ask all my clients. I say, how much do you think your head trash is going to cost you over the next 12 months? In other words, if we don't fix this one problem, just this one problem, how much do you think that's going to cost you over the next 12 months? Now, he said, without batting an eye, he said $1 million. He said, Noah, if I don't fix this problem in the next 12 months, I'm easily going to lose out on $1 million because I know, and because he had read my book and, he'd been studying me, kind of following me, kind of like what you're describing. And, he got my philosophy and he sees how I'm different. Right. And so he says, this is easily going to cost me $1 million. So I said, well, first of all, number one, that's very common. I hear this every single day. When I talk to people every day, they say, Noah, if I don't get this fixed, it's easily going to cost me $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month over the next 12 months. That's 6-7 figures a year, right? That's a lot of money if you just do the math that you're losing out on. So that's number one, very common. Number two, I said, I'll tell you what, just give me 10% of that $1 million. And I will find you $1 million in the next 12 months in your business. All right. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. And I said, okay, well, let's do it. And he goes, all right, let's do it. So that's one of the reasons I love working with high achievers, right? Because they make decisions quickly and firmly. They don't mess around. They don't dilly-dally. They don't have paralysis by analysis. They just say, let's do it, right? And he had, of course, heard all of my success stories and all, knows that I have a 25-year track record, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, he invested $100,000. That's 10% of $1 million, right? So he paid me $100,000 to do one-on-one coaching with him for 12 months. So I coached him for 12 months. Now, as it turns out, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months. So he gave me $1. I gave him $18 back. Is that a good deal? Nope, that's a great deal. And then he actually sent me an email recently. He said, guess where I am now? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV with all this money we've got, right? And we're taking a 7-week vacation. We're driving all around the southeast of the United States, and we're taking time off. He said, no, not only do I have more money than I ever had in my life, now I have more time than I've ever had before. So that's what it means to really understand and get rid of your head trash. And that's what happens when you put these systems in place.
I love it. Okay, so for the listeners and viewers, let's take this moment to write this down. Step number 1 is to write down exactly what you want. And as Dr. Noah has shared with us, is to become impeccably clear of that. So if you're watching this as a recording, you might want to press pause, go ahead and write down your goals right now. Step number 2, then write in and fill in the blanks, as in what's stopping you. I cannot have it because, and then add in the objection, the interference, the limiting beliefs, whatever else might be the case. Is that right, Noah?
Yes. And again, that's examples of what I'm calling your head trash. I can't do it because ... So as you say, right. So fill in the blank. What is your because? because I
Okay.
don't have the time, I don't have the money, I can't afford it, I don't have the right connections, et cetera, whatever that might be.
I love this. This is really clear then, because
Mm-hmm.
what you're then observing is your unconscious / conscious patterning that's actually
Right.
stopping you from achieving the things that you want to achieve. So go ahead and write that down. I cannot have this, or I will not have this. I don't believe I'll have this because fill in the
Right.
blanks, because of this time, money, resources, whatever, like fill in the
Right.
blanks, really fill in the blanks. And
Mhm.
then the next step, I mean, in your book, you talk a lot about, and in your online as well, you talk about how your coaching programs are different in the way where they really help the unconscious habit of highly successful people come out. Can you tell us what you mean by, for our viewers and listeners, in the essence of unconscious habit? Now we're writing it down, right? Now we're writing down because, and we're filling in the
Right.
blanks, so we're becoming conscious of it. But tell us a
That's
little
right.
bit about these unconscious habits of highly successful people, please.
Well, one of the things that makes my coaching different, and one of the things I discovered 26 years ago, is that highly successful people are doing things unconsciously that are actually enabling them to succeed. And because they're doing them unconsciously, number one, they don't even know they're doing them. And number two, most importantly, they can't teach it. So let me show you how this works. So whenever we humans want to master a new habit or a new task or a new, something we want to get really good at, we always go through 4 stages of competency. The first stage is unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know, you don't know. The second stage is conscious incompetence. That means you don't know. The third stage is conscious competence, which is you know. And then the final stage is unconscious competence, which is you do without thinking, right? So, in my coaching programs and in my keynote speeches, because I'm also a keynote speaker, I get to do keynote presentations, whether live or virtually, all around the world, anyway. And so one of the things I do in my keynote presentations is I'll use the example of driving a car, right? So I'll say to my audience members, does everybody here know how to drive a car? And of course, most people raise their hand. Yes, I know how to drive a car. And then I say, did you realize that you went through those 4 stages that I just said in order to drive a car? And people go, really? I go, yeah. So the first stage is you didn't know how to drive a car, right? Nobody comes out of the womb and says, hey, where's my car? Right? You don't even know, right? For the first however many years of your life. Then the second stage is you realize, wait a minute, I don't know how to drive a car and I want to get away from my parents. And all I have is a bicycle and I can't get far enough from my parents on my bicycle. Oh man, I need to know how to drive a car, but I don't know how to drive a car. Gosh darn it. Right. So that's the second stage. The third stage is you learn how to drive a car, right? I mean, for most of the folks listening to this program, right, you learn that process, right? You went to driver's ed, as we call it in the United States, and whatever, and you learn how to drive a car. Now, of course, for most of the folks listening, you do that right now without thinking. You literally are doing this thing, which used to be really hard. And in fact, you didn't even know about it. But now you do it every single day, perhaps, or you certainly do it without thinking, right? In fact, when you're actually doing this habit, you're thinking about everything but the thing you're actually doing, right? You're thinking of 27 other things, but you're not actually thinking about driving a car, right? You are unconsciously competent, right? And if you think about it, there's literally dozens of things that you and I went through that we have went through those 4 stages from unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence, right? And so the point is, what I realized over 25 years ago is that highly successful people, which I call the naturals of success, right? These are the gurus and the highly successful people that we all look up to. What I realized that nobody had ever talked about before was that the naturals of success are unconsciously competent at allowing themselves to succeed. Now, what I mean by that is that they are not holding themselves back from head trash. All right. And so what they're doing is they're saying things like, well, the secret to success is believing in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. We've all heard that a million times. Well, meanwhile, before I wrote all these books, before I had these epiphanies and I realized what was really happening in this world, I was sitting in the back, they say, well, you got to believe in yourself. And I'm sitting in the back going, but I don't believe in myself. What am I supposed to do? Right. And I came to realize, after coaching, thousands of people over the last 25 years, most people don't believe in themselves. They don't, even though they've heard it a million times. Oh, you got to believe in yourself. That's just one example of what the gurus say that doesn't even make any sense. I'll give you a perfect example of that. We have a program called the 12-week breakthrough, right? It's a group coaching program where I actually help people make more in 12 weeks than I did in the previous 12 months, right? And winning their lives back at the same time. So I was working with and coaching one of my clients in that group. Her name's Catherine. She's a business owner from Pennsylvania. And she came to me when she, hired me, and when she joined the program, she was in a very dark place in her life. Now, that's her words, not mine. She was in a very dark place, and she tried lots of different coaching and lots of things, and just really nothing was really working that well. And she was in a dark place in her life. Well, I was working with her and coaching her through this process, and helping her with the unconscious habits that I teach and have been teaching for a long time. And in week 5 of the 12-week breakthrough, she sent me an email, and she said, Noah, I want you to know that I just raised $185,000 in one day today. And it's because of what you taught me. And she said, I finally, for the first time in my life, believe in myself. I was like, wow, $185,000 raised in one day. I was like, you're welcome. It was very exciting.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so can you tell us some of these habits? So the first step is obviously to start to believe in ourselves. And if we don't believe in ourselves, or for the person that does not believe in themselves, actually start to change the story is what I would recommend. That that you are worthy, that you can do it. Obviously, whatever you wrote before, as in I can't achieve it, because you literally just start saying the opposite to yourself, as in, quite well, Dr. Noah, in regards to what you're doing with, knowing the father of affirmations and using affirmations. I just want to check in. What are some of the habits that you've observed specifically within wealthy and successful people?
Actually, that brings up this point. It's actually affirmations. And see, this is actually one of the things that makes my coaching very different and very unique. This is something that I discovered 26 years ago. It's called affirmations. So for everyone listening and watching, it's AFFORMATIONS, affirmations. And by the way, you can go to affirmations.com and learn more about my affirmations advantage and my affirmations method. So again, AFFORMATIONS. So what I realized 26 years ago, I had this epiphany. It was April 1997. And I was actually in the shower when I discovered this. I call it the shower that changed everything, right? We've all had those aha moments in the shower, right? You're just sit in the shower or the bathtub or whatever. You're like, wow, I just got that eureka, that aha moment. Well, this is the moment that changed my life and has subsequently changed millions of lives around the world because of my affirmations method. So everybody knows what an affirmation is, right? An affirmation is a statement of something you want to be true. Like in my keynote presentations, I'll often say to my audience members, okay, now we're going to say an affirmation, just like the gurus have been teaching us for decades. Everybody say, I am rich. And everybody goes, I am rich. And you know what happens next? Everyone starts laughing. And I go, what are you laughing at? And they go, well, I'm not rich. And I say, but you just said you were. And they go, yeah, but I don't believe it. Now, isn't that the problem with the old affirmations method, right? With the old way, right? We're taught to say these positive statements, and we're supposed to believe them. But did you know that a scientific study was actually done, and it showed that 75% of the people who use the old method actually end up more frustrated than before? It's a scientific study that was done. And I actually, so if you think about it, imagine if you had a smartphone that didn't work 3 out of the 4 times you went to use it. You'd probably get a new phone, wouldn't you? Well, that's what I invented 26 years ago, is a new phone for your brain. So the point is, a statement like, I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful, your brain goes, no, you're not, right? So what I invented was the affirmations method. So instead of saying a statement, you make an empowering question. So you would say something like, why am I so rich? Why am I so happy? Why am I enough? And when you ask a question using my affirmations method, what happens is you engage the embedded presupposition factor of the brain, and that means you're automatically searching for the answer to the question. And so your brain is automatically searching for answers to questions. So what happens is we bypass all that non-belief, all those limiting beliefs, all that head trash, and we go right to the part of you that says, why am I so rich? Why am I so happy? Why am I enough? And it instantly changes your life. And I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of success stories and case studies of people who've used my affirmations method, just that one simple habit, and changed their lives.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you think about it, if they don't believe or feel either way, mentally or emotionally, that they are wealthy, and they say that they're wealthy, then you have a conflict in the mind. The conscious mind goes, no, actually you're lying. And then it starts to shut down all of the opportunities to create, right? And then we change the question to why am I so successful, which imposes or assumes also that you have already achieved that level of success, and now you're looking for the parts that have done it. You're actually just recreating not just the story, but also rewiring the brain. I love it.
You got it. And see, look, I taught you that. It took me less than 5 minutes to teach you my affirmations method. Now it takes 5 minutes to learn and a lifetime to master. And that's the beauty of my affirmations method. I mean, and by the way, we have also IAForm audios because my clients beg me to actually have pre-done affirmations recordings that you can listen to. If you go to my website, just go to noahstjohn.com. You can get a free sample of my IAForm audios. But just that one habit alone, just by virtue of the fact that you are changing your subconscious thought patterns, changing the questions you're asking, that leads to a change of habits, a change of results, and thereby leads you to change your life.
Love it. Awesome. So let's do that for those watching who want to actually get some solid result, not just listening to this interview and getting great content and value, but actually doing this in your life. Take the moment again, pause the video, go back and answer that exact question of why am I so wealthy? Why am I so healthy? Why am I so happy? And literally take, I would recommend, as much time out as possible to actually fill in the blanks and just see how you feel afterwards. I would imagine I can just feel it in my body now. I just feel so much more successful, happy, content, and whatever else, because I've even just asked myself the question. So I love that.
That's exactly right. I love that you just said that, because that is exactly what's happening in the brain. See, because of neuroplasticity is a simple, well, I mean, it's a hard word, but I mean, it's a simple concept, which is the fact that we can rewire our brains. All right. Mm-hmm. And so what we have only been taught one way to do it for over 150 years, longer really, but which is statements, right? So I am happy. I am rich. I am successful. And your brain goes, no, you're not. It literally just shuts it down immediately. Using my affirmations method, we open the door to possibility, and we open the door in your brain. And as you just said, it literally changes your mind body, because of course, as we know, and the folks listening to this program know, the mind and body are very intimately connected. So because of neuroplasticity, that's another thing. And by the way, I just want to mention something. Every human being on this planet is already using my affirmations method. There's just two problems. Number one is, of course, most people don't know they're doing it. And number two, most people are asking really lousy questions. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why isn't my business growing? Why is there more month left at the end of the money? Right. And when you ask lousy questions, what do you get? Well, you get lousy answers, and that gives you a lousy life. So using my affirmations method, for the first time, you can take conscious control of the questions you're asking, change your questions, change your habits, change your results, and change your life.
Oh, I love it. I mean, this is key, right? We know the power of questions. I think you're really talking about something that is way bigger than what we may just perceive in this conversation. I think you're absolutely spot on. Most people are unconsciously competent in asking themselves the wrong questions.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And I'm generalizing here, but I'm
no,
really,
you're totally right. That's what I've been teaching for 26 years now. Yes, you got it.
Right. And I think it comes from that place of not feeling good enough or not believing in ourselves. You know, the ultimate fear, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, therefore I won't be loved. And so then we fire and wire these incorrect questions, or these debilitating questions. Why am I not loved? Why am I unable to be successful in business? Why am I unable to call in that special one? Why is my body not healthy and fit? Why am I emotionally eating? And so on and so forth. I really love this. I mean, could it be as simple as actually just writing down the opposite question and answering those questions? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I go through that process in, my book of affirmations and my affirmations advantage at affirmations.com. So I go through the whole process, but it's very simple and very powerful. I'll give you a quick example. I was working with another client of mine in my 12-week breakthrough program. She's an entrepreneur in Arizona. And she was a self-proclaimed seminar junkie, right? That's what she called herself, that she was going to all these seminars and trying all these things and spending spending all this money. Now, she was making six figures in her business, so she was doing well, but she just couldn't break through that income ceiling. She just had that ceiling on her income that she couldn't break through no matter how much money she spent, how much time she went to running around to all these seminars. She joined my 12-week breakthrough program, and in 2 weeks, she tripled her investment. In the first 2 weeks, tripled her investment. And we hadn't even gotten to the money part yet. We hadn't even started talking about money. It was really just looking at these unconscious habits, and one of them being my affirmations method.
Cool. Gotcha. So can you tell us a little bit about time? I'm really interested because we know there's 168 hours in the week. We know that most people really do not prioritize their time. And you know, the old, you know, excuse slash objection slash limiting belief would be, I don't have enough time. And then we look at people, you know, in the world, you know, someone, let's take someone, not that they're any better or worse or not worth putting on a pedestal, but let's say someone like Richard Branson, right? He's got 168 hours of the week as well. He owns over 300 companies. And, you know, when you fly with Virgin, he doesn't fly the plane. He doesn't check you in at the airport. He doesn't do the branding. He owns the company. So if he's got 168 hours of the week and we've got 168 hours of the week, then we know in theory that it's possible for us to be wildly successful, to create products and services that will influence and can influence the entire world if we wanted to, and still, as he does, spend a lot of time with his loved ones and his family. So can you tell us a little bit about how your programs, your method, even the psychology part that we're talking about here today, in the mental part, how people prioritize their time to focus on the activities that create both income and happiness? What are the steps for people to actually do that, to learn to master time?
Yeah, that's a huge topic that I coach people on all the time, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching. Very, very important topic. And one of the reasons for that is because we live in a world of infinite distractions, right? I mean, at our fingertips every second are these wonderful, you know, devices, these smartphones that are weapons of infinite distraction. And so what's interesting about that also is that the social media companies want to addict you. They want to addict us. They want to make sure that we stay addicted to their platforms. Why? So they make more money, right? And people say, but no, you know, it's free. I don't pay anything to be on, you know, these social media platforms. I'm like, well, no kidding. Of course it's free because you're the product. You and me and all billions of us, we're the product. They're selling us to these advertisers so they make more money. All right. So I want people to get take their power back, right? Don't give your power to these other companies because they're going to absolutely, I mean, they have people working round the clock to make sure that you and I stay addicted to these platforms. So don't let them take your power anymore. Make sure you take your power back. I'm not saying, you know, that you should completely get off social media, but you've got to be empowered, not disempowered by it. That's just one simple example. So, I mean, I love what you say, because I use an example all the time. I use Richard Branson, you know, all the time as an example of this, because, you know, I've studied highly successful people like him for many, many years. And I realized that Richard Branson's main job is to walk around and be charming. That's his job. It's like, walk around and be charming. I'm like, what a great job, huh? You know, and make billions and trillions and gajillions of dollars. I'm like, man, that is great. And have perfect hair while you're at it. Anyway, but that's the point, is he has what I talked about earlier, which is systems, right? As you said, he doesn't fly the planes. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He has all these systems. And meanwhile, he's really not doing much of anything except making a few executive decisions, mostly about who to hire, who to fire, and things like that, right? And meanwhile, he's delegated. So for the folks listening to this program, what does that mean for you? So you have to look at the different stages of your development. So the first stage, of course, is from 0 to 100,000, right? 0 to 6 figures. Making that first 6 figures is really, really hard. I mean, it took me 10 years. 10 years of really hard labor and spending all this money, paying all these gurus who can't teach their way out of a paper bag and who absolutely are great at self-promotion, but who suck at teaching. You know, I gave them tons of money and they took me down a totally wrong direction. And I lost a ton of money and I lost all that time, which I can never get back. You can give the money back, but you can never get the time back. So it took me 10 long years to make my first get to my first 6-figure year. And then that's when I actually found my first real business mentor, you know, somebody who really taught me the systems of how to make money online. And since then, of course, we've been able to scale every year since then. But the point is that you've got to have the internal and external system. I just simply call it inner game and outer game. Inner game is everything that happens between your ears that you can't see directly, but it affects everything that you do. Meanwhile, outer game is everything you can see directly, and it also affects everything, right? The problem is most people have spent a lot of time, money, and effort on the outer game, meaning, the sales, the marketing, the offers, the funnels and traffic, the things like that all the gurus are spouting about. But of course, they're great at promoting themselves, but they suck at teaching. And so I've had so many people who've, hired me after they spent all this money, tens of thousands of dollars on all these gurus. They say, Noah, the gurus, they said to spend all this money on Facebook ads. And I spent all this money on Facebook ads. I lost all my money. I lost all this money. And I said, I hear this, I hear this all the time. And I said, well, what were you sending traffic to? And they say, well, my website. And I said, okay, well, what's your offer? What are you selling? And they go, well, I don't really have anything to sell yet. I'm going, oh my God, it's like, of course you're going to lose money. That's just one simple example. So, when we look at what we need to focus on, that's why in my book and in my coaching programs, that's why, that's why I call it the 7-figure expert, because you have to do it step by step. There's a very sequential sequence of things you have to do that, it took me 20 years to figure out, because I was paying all these guys all this money and they never told me anything. I gave them a lot of money only to find out they never said anything, And so anyway, it all starts with the inner game. We've got to start with the inner game. And why do we have to do that? Well, building your business is kind of like building a house. And imagine if you built a house and you had it all done, and then you walk in the house and you realize, wait a minute, I forgot to put the electricity in. I forgot to put the wires in. That would be kind of uncomfortable, right? And that's what a lot of people are doing. They've spent a lot of time, money, and effort, trying to do all this marketing stuff. But meanwhile, no one has taken the time to actually show them how to master their inner game. I'll give you another quick example of this. I was speaking at a conference for entrepreneurs, about 1,000 entrepreneurs in Los Angeles, and there were about 7- and 8-figure earners, really high-powered people, right? And I finished speaking. I was walking off the stage, and a man came up to me and he said, "Noah, you are the coach that I've been looking for. I want to hire you." I mean, he basically hired me on the spot. And, I didn't know this man from Adam. Ironically, his name was Adam. Anyway, and so I said, okay, well, what's going on? He said, well, Noah, I'm at 7 figures, but I can't seem to bust through. I'm still at this, again, I call it the income ceiling, right? He just kept hitting that income ceiling. Now, for him, it was 7 figures. So you're like, oh, that's great, right? But he'd been at that same level for 4 years and he couldn't break through. And he'd spent all this money on all the gurus and all this stuff, just couldn't get through that income ceiling. So he hired me and I coached him on inner game. And in the next 18 months, we got his company from being stuck at 7 figures for the previous 4 years to over 20 million in revenues. 20 million in less than 18 months. That's a 600% increase. And it really just came from mastering, or, me helping him and showing him how to master his inner game, right? So that's what a lot of people are missing.
I couldn't agree more. And we know, Tony Robbins has talked about this a lot, and not just Tony, but many others. And I totally do believe it's true. I mean, it even matches the Pareto principle of 80-20, where it said that 80% of the success of the entrepreneur is the psychology, what's happening in between their two ears, and only 20% is mechanics. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, again, I just like to say inner game and outer game, but yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Well, I think that's pretty much what we recognize here. But I say this when I teach as well. If we have this inner game, as you call it, on point, everything will scale and grow from that, because you are the energy that drives the business, at least until the point where we can pull ourselves out and delegate everything, potentially like Richard Branson. But for now, for many people listening and watching, that'll certainly be the case. So the greatest investment you'll ever make is, of course, in yourself, and often also with the right coaches. So Noah, I just want to say thank you also, because I know that you've got your book, The 7-Figure Expert, and there's a free version available at 7figureexpertbook.com. Can you tell us a little bit about where our viewers and listeners can go to have access to this book and actually have the blueprint that you're talking about here?
Absolutely. So again, it's the book is called The 7-Figure Expert, and it's very simple. Just go to 7figureexpertbook.com. Easy to remember, 7figureexpertbook.com. And the book is free. We just ask you to cover the shipping. And of course, we ship anywhere on planet Earth. And just go to 7figureexpertbook.com. And by the way, because you're listening to this program, I'll also give you a free ticket when you get your free book. I'm also going to give you a free ticket to my 7-Figure Expert event, which is a virtual event that I do every month. And it's a $97 additional bonus value. So 7figureexpertbook.com. sevenfigurexpert.com. You get your book for free and also get a ticket to my Seven Figure Expert event.
That sounds awesome. Again, Dr. Noah, thank you for jumping on. I just want to check in. Are there any final words you want to share before we ask people to go and check out the book?
Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed this. And just for the folks listening and watching, make sure you do get help. Make sure, and by the way, when you're working with a coach, when you hire a coach, make sure it's someone who has a system, right? Not personality-driven success. That's what the gurus, they rely on their personality and they're larger than life. And, look at my helicopter and my jet and all that stuff. Hey, that's great. But what if I don't have that personality, right? Then you're probably out of luck. So make sure you're going to someone who has a system and make sure that the system works for anybody. That's why, if you notice in this interview, I bragged about my clients. I'd rather brag about my clients than me, because if I'm only bragging about me, then it's like, well, great, it only works for you, right? And that's what you see with most of these gurus out there. It's like, hey, I made all this money. Well, who cares if you made all this money? Have you helped anyone else? So that's why whoever you decide to get, to hire or work with as your coach or mentor, make sure they have a system. That means it works for anybody as long as you follow the system.
No, I totally agree. I love that. Okay, I've got one last question for you that I normally ask the people that I get to interview. I want you just to imagine now, Noah, that you're on the world stage. There's millions of people watching, and you are there to share your message to the world right now. It can be anything you want. Whenever you're ready, take a breath and feel free to share. What is your message to the world right now?
Well, as you stated earlier, my stated mission is to raise humanity's consciousness one question at a time. So make sure you use my affirmations method. You're already doing it. Every human being on this planet is already using my affirmations method. But this time, make sure, number one, you do it consciously, and make sure you use empowering questions, not disempowering questions. Go ahead and do it. Start asking better questions. Change your questions, change your habits, change your results, and change your life.
Oh, wonderful. Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Guys, check out sevenfigureexpertbook.com, also breakthroughwithnoah.com. It's been a privilege and a pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for your time and sharing your wisdom.
My pleasure.
Until next time. Thanks, everybody.